Well, how about that lunch? Did y'all enjoy lunch? Yeah, let's give these ladies a big hand. Not only was the food good, but the way they had it organized to feed this many people that quickly. And we appreciate them for doing that. You know, 50 years can be a long time. But on the other hand, it can seem like just a short time. It kind of depends on which side of the 50 years you're on. Sort of like I'm wearing y'all out with stories, I know, but I heard about the fellow, they were celebrating 50th wedding anniversary. And they'd had big events all day, and family, friends were there, and cake, and all the niceties that went along with the occasion. And then a little bit, the wife turned around and saw the husband, and he was sitting there crying. She said, "Why are you crying?" He said, "I just reflecting back," said, "Do you remember 50 years ago today, your daddy caught me kissing you in that porch swing?" She said, "I remember that." He said, "Do you remember he told me if I didn't marry you that day, he'd see that I went to jail for the next 50 years? She said, "Yeah." He said, "I just realized," said, "I got out today." Now, when folks met here 50 years ago today, as Robert had said, I'm sure that road looked like a long road. But on this side of it, it seems like just a short time. And we're thrilled that all of you have come today to help us celebrate a very auspicious occasion for the Waterview church family, at least, and for all of you. Each one of you, in some way, you have your fingerprints on what we're doing here today and what's been done here for the last 50 years. A lot of great things have been accomplished, but we understand, and we want to say that up front as we start our service today for this homecoming service. We understand, like the Apostle Paul said, many have planted, a lot of folks have watered, but God has given the increase. He's the one that has made it grow, and for that, we're very, very thankful. Today, we have a lot of guests with us, and each one of you, if you're a guest, you're special. But we also have some special guests that are with us, and we want to take a few moments to recognize them this afternoon. We have some very important folks from the city of Richardson here. We have, first of all, Raymond Noah, I think, sitting right over here. If he'd stand up, he and his wife, I'm assuming. Raymond has served many, many years as the mayor of Richardson. He's not the mayor currently, but he has been and has been very much a friend to the Waterview Church, and we appreciate him being here. We have a couple of councilmen with us. We have Mark Solomon and Scott Dunn, if y'all would both stand. And we appreciate them working us in their schedule. Mike Rawlings, who is the mayor of the city of Dallas, had planned to be here. I have on this table, and we'll post these out on the bulletin board somewhere, but I have a proclamation, a very nice proclamation that Mayor Rawlings has sent to us. He had planned to be here. His mother is very ill, and I think this all just transpired last night, and so he will not be with us today. Mayor Phil Dyer of Plano, he has also sent a letter that we'll post, but his schedule would not let him be here. But both of these good mayors have been very complimentary on the things that they've said about the Waterview Church. We also have, sitting right over here, Angie Chin Button. Is that correct? And Angie, is one of our state representatives, state of Texas here. She wants to come. If you'll come, did you have a presentation or something you wanted to make? If you did, come right on up. We'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. My brothers and sisters in Christ, good afternoon. It is such a great pleasure to speak to you at this very special 50th anniversary celebration for the Great Church of Christ, Waterview Great Church of Christ. I am just absolutely excited. Believe it or not, even I'm a member of another, my husband right there, Darcy Button, and I are members of another church, but we have visited this church several times before. Thank you for inviting me to be here. Well, I know the campaign season is over, so we're not supposed to give a long speech. But I do want to share a very short personal experience, feelings with all of you. I'm not saying I'm so excited because I'm a politician. I'm saying I am so excited because I am really, really, really excited about coming here. First, you know, being a state representative, those long hours, incredible demands, and $600 a month pay, it can get to you. But one thing always energizes me big time is to present state resolutions to outstanding citizens and organizations to celebrate their accomplishment. And today, I am doing that. And another reason is very, very personal. From my charming English, you can tell I wasn't that lucky to be born in this great country. You don't have to hold it back. I know my English is charming. I was born and raised in Taiwan. You know what? Back to those little girls' time, my favorite activity was going to the church sponsored by American churches and taught by those American missionaries. And my favorite collections were those Christmas cards from the United States, but those are not the ones you can buy here. Those are the ones handwritten, used by the American church members, but then they send it overseas to give it to great kids in the Sunday school. And I collect a bunch of them. So while I was putting together this resolution, I noticed the Waterview Church of Christ, you all have a lot of efforts in the overseas missions. And that is very important. Please continue that so many more children get to see God. And now, let me ask the pastor, the preacher, he wants me to call him preacher, please come to the stage. You know, let me say this from my husband. He said he have never heard somebody can work for the same boss for 15 years and didn't ask for a raise. And preacher, when I read this resolution, I try to shorten that, but it looks sounds a little bit strange. That's just the way we like to put together to make it fancy. Has nothing to do with my charming English, yes. So please understand. The state of Texas resolution, whereas members of Waterview Church of Christ in Richardson are celebrating the 50th anniversary of their church's founding on December 2nd, 2012. And whereas the Waterview Church of Christ opened its doors on December 2nd, 1962, and the following February hired its first preacher.
Yes. It'll last.
And Robert K. Oglesby, who has continued to lead the congregation for the past 5 decades. And whereas beginning with only 134 congregants, the church has grown to serve approximately 1,000 worshipers. As membership increased, the facility were expanded, and the church now includes the education wing, administrative office, and a multi-purpose conference room. Actually, you know, you all know this history so well, so I think I probably should not kind of take too much time to read the details. Except I want to emphasize how well, not only because you promote overseas commissions to benefit the children around the world, and also your leadership, your vision in bringing young ministers and young leaders in the church from different perspectives, vocational Bible schools and a bunch of other activities is very, very impressive. Thank you very much. And let me read the last paragraph. Whereas countless Richardson residents have looked to Waterview Church of Christ for spiritual enrichment and guidance through the years, and it is a pleasure to join in honoring the church at this special time in such a rich history, signed by Angie Chen Button, State Representative for District 112, that's me. And another representative is Stephanie Carter for District 102. And congratulations and thank you for doing and honoring God's job. And that's the most important thing in our life. And I know you're all great. Thank you. You want to say anything?
And whereas that you've done such a good job, we thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Well, that pretty well wraps it up, I think. We've got the history told right there. Robert, I couldn't help but think of one of our preachers was speaking at a civic function, and they introduced him. And Angie, they said, we'd like to introduce our speaker today. And said he's Reverend So-and-Smith, who's the pastor over at the United Church of Christ. He said, I appreciate it, but I feel like I need to correct a couple of mistakes in the introduction. He said, number one, he said, we don't go by the title Reverend. Said, number two, I'm not the pastor, the elders are. And said, number three, the church where I preach is not united. So, but we do thank you for being here, and Robert for accepting that. Very good job. Thank you. Waterview Church has a rich history, as you'll hear so many ways today. It began in 1962. Waterview began as a church plant of the old Abrams Road Church of Christ over on the east side of Richardson. Land was purchased on the corner of Melrose and Waterview Drive, and the founding members came here from Abrams Road. In the 1990s, talk started buzzing around the hallways of Waterview. We need to do our part to give that back. And so there was an investigative committee, task force, that worked for a long time looking to see where we could plant a church in our area. And the decision was made to go to far North Plano at that time, up in North Collin County. And Waterview Church purchased 12 acres of very prime real estate in that area. And in 2000, February of 2000, several of our members, how many, Robert, 120, do I remember right?
No, more than that.
More than that? How many?
About 250.
About 250 members from Waterview said, we'll go do that. And they made the trek north and met in temporary buildings for a while, and now there is a beautiful, beautiful facility on that location up there, the McDermott Road Church of Christ, a good church with an attendance of over 1,000 every Sunday morning now. Mike Willoughby, who grew up here at Waterview, now serves as one of the elders of the McDermott Road Church of Christ, and Mike is with us somewhere here today. Where are you, Mike? If he'll come forward, he's going to speak to us on behalf of our brethren up at McDermott Road.
Good afternoon. I bring you greetings from your brothers and sisters at the Church of Christ on McDermott Road. As Danny has said, my name is Mike Willoughby, and I'm privileged to be here with my wife Crystal and my son Jackson. And Quentin and Sally Mims are also in attendance. Quentin and I are both privileged to be one of the 7 shepherds for that church. When Quentin and I received the invitation to join you today, Robert Taylor told us we had 3 minutes to speak. We knew we had a problem right away because when have you ever known an elder to speak on anything for 3 minutes or less? So, we can turn even a small announcement into a 5-minute keynote. It's just what we do. So I asked my good friend Reagan Morgan if he realized we each had 3 minutes to speak, and that only left him with 30 seconds. Reagan works for me, so of course he said, "Yes, sir." Not realizing if I was serious, but I hope you're patient with Reagan as he steals 3 minutes from Robert later on. It was 1994, and this church felt called to plant a church, just as this church had been created 50 years ago. And a task force was created to find land that might be available and suitable for the effort. And my friend and mentor Jack Evans was asked to serve on that task force. If you wanted to get something done, you put Jack Evans on the job. And Jack got the job done by finding a piece of land at what would become the intersection of Coit and McDermott in the middle of wheat fields in far North Plano. Over the next couple of years, the process moved forward slowly. But in 1997, a town hall meeting was held where the decision to proceed with a church plant at that property was affirmed by this congregation. In the fall of 97, a task force was formed to plan and execute the church plant. And 25 to 30 families met in the chapel over here and committed to participate in that effort to move with that church plant. The North Plano Church Plant Task Force, NPCPTF, began meeting in January of 98 and met almost every Sunday night for 2 years after the Sunday night service. Our first Sunday morning service was held in August of 98 with Truett Adair as our guest speaker, and our first Sunday morning service with our new preaching minister, Tim Piles, was in September of 1999, all here on this property. The first Sunday morning service on site was April 2, 2000, with about 225 in attendance. At one point, about halfway through our meeting process over that 2 years, probably during one of the more tedious meetings that we had, Robert made the comment that it would probably be easier if we just declared a church split and sent all of us up there. And the truth is, it probably would have been easier, but it wouldn't have been better. We frequently use the analogy of child rearing during this process. And just like you wouldn't kick your toddler out to the curb to fend for himself, even when he's a pain in the neck, we took a very patient path to ensure that the child was mature and prepared for life in a tough world. It might have been the longest church plant on record, particularly if you begin back in 94, but it's kind of hard to argue with the results. Today, we're blessed to have around 1,300 brothers and sisters, young and old, as members of our church family. We have a growing campus on the property you gifted to us, and we have followed in your footsteps by being intentionally missional with our resources. The Church of Christ on McDermott Road has a lot of Waterview DNA, including our conservative restoration philosophy, our measure twice, cut once appreciation for diligence and planning, our appreciation for the power of teams to accomplish great things. We have an information desk instead of a transactional desk, but we have that too. But the piece of Waterview DNA that I am most grateful for is our love gene. My family and I moved to Dallas in the fall of 1979 when I was 16 years old. We were all small town folks, and we were all somewhat lost in the big city, each in our own way. There were 5 or 6 churches closer to our house than Waterview, and we visited most of them prior to trying out Waterview. We had the typical visitor experience at those churches, which is to say we felt like visitors. The first Sunday in January of 1980, we came to Waterview. We liked the classes, we liked the building, the preacher was pretty good. I thought he kind of looked like Clark Kent, and it was only later that I realized that he was really Superman as far as preachers go. So we came back for Sunday evening class and service, and after the service, my parents were swept off to Cullen and Martha Johnson's Love One Another group, where they were loved and accepted. And Raymond Whaley and Mike Anderson and Jeff Johnson and Kent Stevenson dragged me out to Great Outdoors for a sandwich with the rest of the youth group, where I was loved and accepted. For a West Texas kid from a youth group of 3, feeling lost in a big city, this was a gift from God. You were a gift from God for my whole family. Later that night, when we got back to the house, we knew we had found our church home. And it wasn't the buildings or the programs or the classes or the Superman preacher that was meaningful for our decision. It was your love. And it's still meaningful to me today. You know, when you're 50 years old, it's natural to start thinking about legacy. I believe the Church of Christ on McDermott Road is part of your legacy, and I'm grateful to be part of your legacy. I'm most grateful to God for giving us your love gene as part of our DNA, because I believe we are also known as a loving church, and I sincerely hope that we're making a difference in the lives of others who come to us feeling lost in the big city. And for that reason alone, I hope you're proud of us in a way that a parent is proud of a child, because I know that we're proud of you being our parent. And I hope and pray that we're always a credit to you and a vibrant part of your legacy. May God bless you in the next 50 years just as he has blessed you over the past 50, and may he bless each of you individually. May his face continually shine upon you and give you peace, and as always, to God be the glory. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael, for being here. We appreciate that a great deal. We have a few other folks who wanted to be here that could not be today. Let me gather them up for you. The first one we will read says, "Greetings to the members of the Waterview Church of Christ in Richardson, Texas. As you celebrate your 50th anniversary, congratulations on reaching this milestone. Throughout America's history, people of faith have helped shape the culture and character of our nation by putting their beliefs and values into action. Your compassion, good works, and dedication to family and faith enrich our society and set a positive example for others. By spreading God's message of boundless love and mercy, you help lift hearts and make our country a more peaceful and hopeful place. Laura and I send our best wishes on this special occasion. May God bless you, and may God continue to bless our great nation. George W. Bush." Have another one. Congratulations on your church's 50th anniversary. It's indeed an occasion for giving thanks and celebrating as you reflect on your history as a spiritual beacon to the Richardson community. Communities of faith daily make a difference across the Lone Star State, sharing their beliefs and bettering their communities through service. You have worked to establish a legacy of excellence that has touched the lives of many through the years. As you look toward the promise of the future, I wish you every success. First Lady Anita Perry joins me in extending best wishes. Rick Perry, Governor of Texas. I'm sure the Bushes and Perrys are in the chapel for the overflow crowd because I don't see them in here. But they're live streaming in there for them, so they are there. We have another letter from United States Senator John Cornyn. Says, "It's a pleasure to welcome all who have gathered this Sunday to worship and celebrate the 50th anniversary of the Waterview Church of Christ. Although I'm unable to join you, it's a pleasure to offer greetings to everyone in attendance on this special day. For 50 years, the Waterview Church has faithfully ministered to the good people of Richardson, while at the same time supporting important missions and projects across the globe. As you gather this afternoon, I commend your steadfast efforts to reach people at home and abroad. As a result of these efforts, you're helping to ensure the residents of Richardson and countless souls across the world that they have an opportunity to live blessed and fulfilling lives. In the words of William Evarts, it is faith among men that holds the elements of society together. I applaud the Waterview Church of Christ for embodying these words as you work to provide spiritual enrichment and a message of renewal that gives hope for the future of our families, our communities, and our nation. I send my best wishes for a joyous 50th anniversary service. It's a pleasure to represent you in the U.S. Senate. Senator John Cornyn. We appreciate it. You're probably aware, but John Cornyn is actually an active member of the University Avenue Church of Christ in Austin, and he wanted to be here today. One other says, "Dear friends, congratulations as you celebrate the 50th anniversary of Waterview Church of Christ. What a milestone. Over the past half century, the Lord has done great things in and through your body of believers. Your school bell program, targeted ministry programs, and generous support of missionaries are just a few of the ways you have selflessly served the North Texas community and represent us to the world. Best wishes for a celebration and many years of service to come, Congressman Sam Johnson, U.S. Congress." So we appreciate all of these men taking time to send us these letters. Today is a day, as we've said, for looking back, but it's also a day for looking ahead. Before I do this next segment, I'd like to ask just a second. We're going to try to recognize all groups in a minute. But if you have entered the Waterview family in the last 10 years, now we're not talking about ones that were here 50 years ago, but if you have placed membership or come to Waterview in the last 10 years, would you stand up at this time? Pretty good group for our 1 o'clock service here. What many may not realize is we're not just a bunch of aging old folks around here now, even though we're 50 years old as a church. Over 20% of the membership of Waterview is under the age of 30 years old. If all goes well and there's no complications, I'm told we're going to have 14 babies in our nursery this time next year. So the future's bright. The future is bright. We want to ask one of our young men to come forward to speak in behalf of the younger members from the perspective of a younger adult. And Reagan Morgan is going to come do that at this time.
Thank you, Danny. You know, it's a very humbling experience to be up here as letters from the governor, former president, councilmen are read, my boss included. And the most prestigious thing I've ever been elected to was the second grade lunchroom monitor. Today we are celebrating a momentous occasion in the history of this great congregation. 50 years is no small feat, and it should be celebrated and remembered for the accomplishment that it is. But just like any book with multiple chapters, Waterview's story continues. So if that book is not complete, what will our future be like? Just like Robert said this morning, we don't know, but what do we want it to look like? First of all, as faithful believers and disciples of Christ, we want to serve in ways we've never served before. We want to give our time to those in the community that need assistance in any way possible, whether that's wealth, emotional support, physical labor. We want to be known for spreading the good news, not just by our words, but by our actions. We want to expand our missions program, both foreign and domestic, by equipping more capable young men and women to go preach the word across the world. This year, our benevolence ministry, as mentioned before, started 2 wonderful programs reaching out to needy families using the school system in our local area. And every summer, our youth goes to paint homes in Arlington for the elderly in need. We want to create more opportunities like this, more opportunities to serve as a congregation and come together. Paul puts it well in his letter to the Galatians. You, my brothers and sisters, were called to be free, but do not use your freedom to indulge the flesh. Rather, serve one another humbly in love. Galatians 5:13. Secondly, we want to strengthen the core of our congregation by training each and every one of us with the truth and how to use it properly. We want to raise a new generation of strong, confident, and devout believers that are armed with the Word of God. And that starts from the very beginning in our children's Bible school classes down the hall. We have a talented group of children's teachers today, and we want that number to grow. We want to train more young men to teach the adults too. giving us a new perspective and a deeper pool of teachers to choose from. We want to explore new ways to study the Bible by using technology, something that will be very important as our children grow up in a world full of technological advances. Paul also writes to Timothy, "But as for you, continue in what you have learned and what have become convinced of, because you know those from whom you learned it, and how from infancy you have known the Holy Scriptures, which are able to make you wise for salvation through faith in Christ. All Scripture is God-breathed and is useful for teaching, rebuking, and correcting, and training in righteousness, so that the servant of God may be thoroughly equipped for every good work." 2 Timothy 3, verses 14 through 17. So that's what we want to be. But what are we looking forward to? I think we're excited about the new people we're going to reach and the impact that they will have in our congregation. We're looking forward to seeing our children grow and mature as young Christians filled with energy and enthusiasm, some with more than others. And we're eager to strengthen our relationships with each other and become a more united congregation, a place to feel safe and loved. But the most exciting thing to look forward to is the blank pages in our book that are yet to be written. The future will be what we make it to be. And with God's guidance, the future of Waterview is strong and filled with opportunity. 50 years is a long time, and it's honestly tough for me to fathom because I've barely even lived half that long. As members of this congregation and its supporting community, it's our responsibility to remember that our work is not done. The torch must be passed as God calls us to press on toward the goal. It's the same concept as Robert alluded to this morning. Just because you weren't here at the beginning doesn't mean you can't contribute to the future. Today we reflect and we remember, but we must not lose sight that while a chapter in Waterview's history might be finished, it is merely the turning of a page.
Thank you, Reagan. When plans were being made for today's activities, the office staff contacted each of our Christian universities, the president's offices of each of our universities, inviting them to be a part of today's program. I have a couple of letters here that we'd like to read very quickly. First one is from Dr. Phil Schubert, who's the president of Abilene Christian University. He says, "Congratulations on the occasion of your 50th anniversary. This is a terrific milestone in the life of your church. Growing up as the son of a preacher, I've known about and been blessed by the Waterview Church all my life. Robert Oglesby, who is a great role model for me, served on ACU's Board of Trustees and then Senior Board of Trustees for a combined 22 years, and now serves on our University Council. Of course, we're also blessed to have his son on our faculty. Your teaching staff has made impactful presentations at our Bible Teachers Workshop, and Robert continues to speak to one of the ACU's graduate Bible classes. Thank you for the great kingdom work you've done for over 50 years. I understand that the McDermott Road Church is a church plant from Waterview and is doing well. Your mission efforts and service to the poor in the Dallas area are great indicators of how God is using your gifts as you join Him in the work He has for you in this world. Hope you have a wonderful time of celebrating. Please know that Abilene Christian University is grateful for you and for your kingdom work." Then Royce Money, Chancellor of ACU, says, "Congratulations upon reaching a significant 50th year milestone in the life of the Waterview Church of Christ. Your tremendous growth, your equally impressive service to the Lord in that span of time is a great testament to the commitment and dedication of all of you. I know you would want to give all the credit to God, but in His infinite wisdom, He has chosen to use men and women dedicated to His service and the expansion of the kingdom. Word has it that you also have a great preacher. What a wonderful contribution Robert and Laura Oglesby have made in their ministry with you. I had occasion to visit with Robert recently when he was at ACU for a meeting of our University Council. The long tenure of the Oglesbys is certainly a vital part of your successful 50 years. God has blessed your congregation and our fellowship of churches of Christ in general with this dedicated ministry couple. All of us at ACU send our heartiest congratulations to all the wonderful congregation as we join you in celebration of this milestone. To God be the glory now and forever. So we appreciate both letters from the men at ACU. With us today, we have Dr. David Burks, who is the president of Harding University in Searcy, Arkansas. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Burks at this time for a presentation.
Thank you, Danny. When I received the invitation, heard about this celebration, I immediately responded and said that I'd like to come and be a part of it because of the kinship we feel with this congregation. And as I came today, I have not in any way been surprised. I've been, in some ways, been overwhelmed with the number of people that I know or people that I don't know, but who have children at Harding or who have grandchildren at Harding. And it's like we're related in some special way. And I appreciate your commitment to Christian education. I appreciate your commitment to the work that we're attempting to do. And so I wanted to just begin by saying thanks to all of you. I've enjoyed visiting with you very much. The reason I wanted to come, and I really didn't even know at the time that Dr. McClarty was invited to speak. That was news to me. I only learned of that a couple of days ago. It was too late for me to back out. So I decided to go ahead and give him a ride here since I was coming. And it was before he was named president of Harding. And you need to understand a phenomenon that's going on, and that is, at least on our campus, and I've even seen some of it here today, no one really wants to see me anymore. They want to see the young Dr. McClarty and get acquainted with him. So if you'd like, I'll introduce you to him afterwards, and then I'll have an opportunity to say hello as well. But it has been wonderful to be in this position for the last 26 years. It's delightful to be here today to express thanks to this wonderful congregation for your faithfulness in terms of the kingdom work that all of us are a part of. I see the work that you're doing to be very similar to that of the college church where I have served as an elder for a number of years. I see it as very similar to the work that we're doing at Harding University. We're all about the kingdom and advancing the kingdom, and that's what our work must always be centered on. And so I congratulate the elders. I congratulate the congregation, and on behalf of the university, we express our congratulations to Robert and to all of you on this 50th celebration on this occasion today. And I have a plaque that I'd like to read that we have prepared to give to you, and I wonder if it'd be appropriate to have the elders come up because they serve such a key role in any congregation of the Lord's work. So if you're here, if you would not mind coming up, and I'll read this plaque that is presented on behalf of our board and our administration, faculty, and students at Harding University. I appreciate it. I know most of these men and appreciate them very much. So let me read this plaque at this time. The Board of Trustees, administration, faculty, and students of Harding University gratefully acknowledge the leadership and 50-year commitment of the Waterview Church of Christ to world missions and the training of evangelists. The congregation's commitment to the Robert K. Oglesby Preaching Studio on the Harding campus is indicative of the church's passion to train ministers to fill local pulpits throughout the nation. The leadership and members of the congregation continue to be pace setters among our brotherhood of the churches of Christ in providing the support so necessary to the training of evangelists in the 21st century. Presented December 2nd, 2012, and signed by me as president. We are grateful to you for all that you do to promote evangelism, not only here, but around the world. Thank you very much. Thanks all. Thank you.
Very nice. Thank you, David. We certainly appreciate you taking time to come down here, and we do appreciate the plaque, beautiful plaque. I can tell you what he said is not at all true. We do still want to see David Burks. And I need to let you know that, yes, he will be ending his tenure, 26 years as president of Harding. It's been a great 26 years. We've had record enrollment every year. The facility, if you haven't seen it, is just beautiful. And everything that has occurred there, it's just been a great blessing. But it's due in a large part to the leadership of David Burks. He's a man not only of great leadership, he's a man of conviction. And he stands for truth. And we appreciate him for that. His contract, yes, give him a hand. His contract was actually extended by the Board of Trustees 5 years ago, and Bruce, with all due respect, we would have extended it again had he let us. But he was ready to step into the position of chancellor. He's not leaving the school. We'll still have great advantage of his leadership and wisdom there. And you heard him this morning, but I'm going to ask Dr. Bruce McClarty to stand as one of our special guests. He will be the 5th president of Harding University, and did a great job this morning, and will also be preaching for us here in just a little while. We have great confidence in Bruce that he will do an equally good job. Dr. Burks mentioned the preaching lab, the Center for Preaching at Harding, and Waterview is in a partnership with Harding on that. We're proud of that. We have, as part of our DNA, that's kind of the thing we're grabbing hold of today, I guess, the training of preachers. Robert said in his sermon there had been 45 interns. Our records show 46. I think he just kicked me off the list is what he did. I was the first one in 1975. He said a few years, about 10 years ago, 11 or so, when I became an elder, if he'd known I was going to be one of his elders, he'd been a whole lot nicer to me back in 1975. But there's been 46 interns trained here. I read an article several months ago of a congregation in another state. It was published in the Christian Chronicle. They were celebrating a 100th year anniversary. You may have seen the article. And they said that as part of their activities, somebody had the idea, let's ask some of the young men who grew up here who are preachers to come back and be a part of the day. They said that's a great idea, and they sat down to make the list, and they couldn't think of anybody. And after a few hours, they realized there was nobody. Now, I'm not talking about a short list. I'm talking about nobody. And to that church's credit, it said in that article, we're going to do better than that. We've got to start making it a priority to train men to preach. And Waterview has done that through the years. I saw Greg Parks here earlier. Where's Greg? Are you still here, Greg? Doggone it, y'all tell him I called his name. He was here. Robert Taylor is a product of Waterview. My son in Kerrville, Texas today preaching is a product of Waterview. We believe in training preachers. And the preaching lab on the Harding campus is a part of the domestic ministry, the domestic missions activities of this church, and we're proud of that. We have, in addition to all these other letters today that have been sent in, each one of our missionaries has sent us a letter congratulating us for today. Those letters have already been posted, I understand, on the bulletin board, the missions bulletin board, and you can see them there. One of the great privileges and blessings of the Waterview Church through the years has been a beautiful facility, beautiful building. In the beginning, 50 years ago, a very young architect was selected to create just the right building for a young church with a design that would transcend time. Aubrey Hallam and his lovely wife, if y'all would stand up at this time, they're here with us today. They are members of the Western Hills Church over in Fort Worth. But he took this task and he took it seriously. And we've grown from that original building that's still down here encompassed by other buildings to over 85,000 square feet in our building. And we're very proud of it. It has that initial design. It has that initial beauty that has never gone out of style. And we're thankful they're with us today. And he's been along on the journey from the very beginning. And right here is a beautiful picture that was given to us. The first one was given to us by the Life Touch Directory, Church Directories. Waterview was selected as our 50th anniversary directory, was selected as one of the best that they're using to profile to other clients. They made us this picture that has, it's a picture of the building made out of the individual pictures of the Waterview members. There's one out in the foyer that we've had for some time. The Hallam's son, David, saw that picture and said, I need to order one of those for my dad. So we just did that ourselves. And so at the end of our service, Aubrey, if you would, this is yours to take home with you. So that's a presentation for them. So again, we'll give a hand to the Hallams. What kind of a 50th homecoming program would it be if we didn't take a moment to let Robert Oglesby come up, our preacher of 50 years, and talk to us and tell us a little bit about the Waterview 50-year story. So Robert, come on up.
Well, this has been quite a day. Things just keep happening. I know as we've all stood around here and talked about what's happened and who did what, that it'd be easy to think that somebody's trying to say, yay, we did it all ourselves. But in reality, we're all very conscious that hovering over this site and these people has been the God of heaven, and that He has given us some amazing blessings. We've had some trials, but those have been good for us too. But this point in the program is maybe a bit nebulous for most of you. Say, why do we need one more speaker? But I'm going to do what, well, I remember hearing a poem years ago, and it reminds me of this moment. It started like this. Listen, my children, and you shall hear of the midnight ride of Paul Revere. And you see someone sitting down with their children and telling them the story. Well, there's many ways to tell the story of this church. And I was a part of it. And yet, in a way, I have always stood as an eyewitness to history outside of things that were happening and watching it, well, like it was a stage play. And that's the way I like to think of it, where the characters enter stage left, assume their role, say their dialogue, and exit stage left. And that's what's happened here with us over the years. So the curtain opens in 1962, and things are happening. We came out of windy West Texas, and we were dumped into a spot where we had more electrical engineers per square foot than there is in the world. And in West Texas, if I told somebody this is what happened, they all accepted it. But when I got here, the engineers would say, how do you know? Well, here's my data. Well, your data's wrong. And I listened to engineers talk, and then I slowly adapted into it because that was the culture of 1962 at Waterview. This group was full of energy and optimism, confidence. They were asked at the Abrams Road Church, would you like for us to kind of sponsor you and watch over you, or would you like to turn you loose? And a bunch of young guys said, turn us loose. We're ready to go. And that's what they did. And that's what we came to. And the order of the day was men's business meetings on Sunday afternoon, a cultural experience, to say the least. We had no elders. We worked by committees. And we met for about 2 hours and tried to solve all the problems of the church we'd created during the week. And we did momentous things. I mean, things like making a motion, let's don't buy a clock for the auditorium. And it passed unanimously. We love to make significant things, significant decisions. We had a few gray heads in the group, but not many. And we got along pretty well and did a lot of good things and handled all the business, but women kept saying, we need somebody else. We're missing something. We've got the facts and we've got the business and we've got the activity, but there's a spiritual thing we feel like we're missing. So for 4.5 years, we went without elders. And this place at times could become a madhouse of conflicting things happening. We had multiple services and multiple Bible classes, and we had to mix up one morning in one of the 2 services of somebody forgot to put the collection basket back under where it was supposed to be. And we had 2 of the shyest men in this church standing facing the audience. And what they were supposed to do was when it came time for the collection, they went down and they reached under and they pulled out the collection baskets. Except they went down with their face showing and there were no collection baskets. And they came back up. And they stood there and looked at us for a while, and then they thought, it's got to be there. So they went down again. And they put their heads in the table, and it wasn't there. But one man saw the problem, and he was off like a shot and brought them back, and we survived the contribution that day. Well, that was the kind of mix-up and excitement, things going on, and so the curtain closes on the first act of the play that we observe. And then the middle part of the play, the second act, the curtain opens. We have 6 elders who are appointed. And now the river and the current of what we were, and then the current of stabilizing it with another organization flowed together, and there was a bit of white water where those met. And we tried to make a transition from one to the other. We got this big auditorium, and that was great. That was almost exactly the time when we got elders. We had been doing personal evangelism training, what's called the PET around here. And we had a lot of people trained to do that. And I remember so clearly on the morning that we came in here that I looked back over that hectic period when a lot of people were active. And we had baptized 26 people in the last 26 weeks. I mean, it's all that confusion. So it was kind of an upper for us at that time. It shows you can get things done. And at the same time, we were dabbling in group discussion where people sat in a circle and you didn't have a formal teacher who told you what to think. You had a group discussion leader who asked questions and everybody dug into the lesson. And even when we got in here, we didn't have enough room. So we had 6 circles of 13 each in the foyer. And so you had to get here, get your chair, and then the last 5 minutes of class you had to stand up and somebody came and took your chair away and stacked it away, and we finished the class standing up. A little bit of hardship, I guess you'd say, but it was an exciting time. Today, though, the curtain opens again, and we look back, and we see 35 elders in actually not 50 years because we didn't have them that long, but 35 elders in about 45 years. They were different men for different times. And as you look back, you realize it's not easy to pioneer, but it's sometimes not easy to carry on after the pioneers. And so God seemed to bring on stage right the men that we needed, and then when the time came they were finished with that work, they exited stage left. And we realized that some things that people start, they can't finish. But all of us together, with 35 elders over the years, have done that. We were building, as we look back, we realize it. We were building a building, this one, and Aubrey and I spent a lot of time together talking about buildings, and I learned a lot about architecture. And his work has survived so well. It has stood the test of time. And so we built the building, and we added classes here and offices there and all kinds of things, but we now have a home that houses us well. But at the same time, we were not just building a building, we were building people. We were building missions. We were building church plants. We were training people for service. So many of the people who lived here and went on somewhere else became elders and deacons elsewhere. They became personal evangelism directors, and they wrote back and they said, oh, we learned so much at Waterview, and it helped us so much. Well, the people then became our building, and even young preachers became a part of our spiritual building. And we realized all of that when you put it all together and try to take a broader look, which is hard to do, but a broader look. You'd have to say, with the help and the presence of God, we had 50 years. Now think about that, half a century. No church splits, no big tear-ups, no big problems that we couldn't handle. And you've got to have divine help to get that done with this many people for 50 years. So, we're not ready to close the books on this church today, so I hope you don't listen to what I'm saying and think this is the final, the grand finale. Not yet. We're no longer an infant church. We're no longer a teen church. We're no longer a young adult church. We're a mature church, but we've got our roots in every single thing that we've experienced. It's all still here. We've still got the young, we've still got the middle-aged, we've still got the older. And the curtain closes today, but it's just intermission. We'll open up tomorrow with the future 50 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Took us through 50 years, about 5.5, 6 minutes. That's pretty good. Very good. Now for the fun part. You've been sitting for a long time. We're going to let you stand up a little bit here as we go along. If I could, I'd like to ask all Waterview members, past and present, to stand up right where you are right now. We'll just stand up. I know we have guests that are with us, and that's okay. You can watch these people in their exercise here. Give yourselves a hand for all the members, past and present. If you are a present member now, if you're a present member, still a member at Waterview, and you have been here for more than 10 years, you continue to stand. Everybody else sit down. If you've come in, we let the ones that have been here 10 years or less stand a while ago, so we'll let them sit back down now. You see the number here. These folks have been here for over 10 years, so give them a hand, I guess, the way this would work. If you've been a member at Waterview for 20 years or more, keep standing, otherwise have a seat. Y'all see where this is going. We're going to find out who's the oldest person here in a minute, I guess. All right. If you've been a member for 30 years, continue to stand. 30 years or more, continue to stand. Otherwise, have a seat. Didn't take many out on that cut. If you've been a member for 40 years or more, keep standing. Otherwise, have a seat. Still not losing many. If you've been a member for more than 50 years, you're lying if you're still standing. You're lying. But if you were here at that first service on December the 2nd, 1962, stand back up and y'all, let's see who was here that first morning. Very good. If we had more time, I'd go out and ask somebody to tell us what it was like that morning, but we're running a little bit behind time. But some of you were here. I know Ben was. Ben, if I'm not mistaken, I've seen the pictures. That's the same suit, isn't it, you had on in that picture a while ago? I saw him stand up there and knew that it was. I only did that because I know I can get away with it with Ben, so y'all don't send me any emails. We're all right, aren't we, Ben? Okay. All right. Well, those are the ones that have been here for a long time. All of you have been here for a good while. Even if it's been just a few weeks, we consider it a good while. All of the ministers and ministers' wives, past or present, if you're with us, would you please stand up? Yeah, well, Laura Oglesby, what a sweet lady that has so much patience over here. For 50 years, we've got Robert, we've got Myron and Vicki Bruce, we've got Warren Shepherd, we've got Carson Copeland. We don't have any previous ministers, past ministers here. I saw Kelly Loki was here earlier today. Is he here? These guys they're on the payroll. They had to be here, but I thought there would be some others. Okay, y'all have a seat. All church staff, secretarial, custodial, whatever, church staff, present and past, if you would please stand. All right. Got several of them around. We appreciate these ladies so much for what they do. Jose's here somewhere, I'm sure, but I didn't see him. There's Jose in the back. Give Jose a hand. Jose keeps this place going back there. All right. Nursery attendants. We won't talk about two ladies here. Jean takes care of the tiny babies. Wafa takes care of the older babies. Jean has been doing that for 16 years. Wafa has served this church for 19 years in that capacity. Are y'all here? Are you inside? Stand up if you would, and let's give these ladies a hand, okay? And their job's going to get busier, as we already told you. Next year, we've got a lot more babies coming in. Interns. Do we have any other interns here that could make it? I'm guessing most of those will be here in February. We'll go ahead and tell you, we'll say more about it in a minute, but we're going to have another big celebration in February for the 50th anniversary of Robert and Laura Oglesby. And so y'all need to get that on your calendars and be ready for that. But I feel like most of the interns are saving their time to come in for that one. Deacons, past and present. If you've ever served as a deacon here, if you're presently serving as a deacon, would you folks stand? And elders' wives, if you are serving now or if you have served in the past, if you would, all stand up at this time. All right, we appreciate each one of you for being here. Let's see. Oh, yeah. This is a big group here. Probably one of the most important groups in the congregation, and that is Bible school teachers. If you have ever taught a class at the Waterview Church of Christ, if you would please stand at this time. Look at that. Very impressive. Very, very impressive. There is a 50th anniversary committee that has met and worked for almost a year getting ready for this today. Robert Taylor, if he would stand in the sound booth, he is the chairman of that committee. Loretta Hambryce, if you would stand. Michelle Skelton, where's Michelle? Michelle Skelton back over here. Lindy Bell. Lindy's towards the back. Jim Steigers. And yours truly. But we have worked on this for almost a year. Then there are just far too many people that I can recognize individually for this, but all of the ladies who helped with the food, with the decorations, with the setup, with the takedown that's going to be taking place here in a little bit. If anybody who had a hand in this in any way, if you would, please stand at this time. All right. There is our workforce. The ladies wanted me to be sure and mention one person, Carolyn Cawthorn, who works year-round to be sure we have fresh flowers and the front of this auditorium decorated, and she's done a marvelous job today again. So give Carolyn a hand for that. I hold in my hand the cards that y'all wrote. You're afraid I'm going to read them, I know. I've skimmed through them. I would love to. I was taught years ago, though, by the fella who taught me as an intern. He said, when you get up before a crowd to speak or to preach, you want to try to work it out to where the crowd doesn't get done before you do. And I'm afraid if I start all this, you're going to quit listening before I get done. And that's a shame, because we've just had so much to do this afternoon. I would love to read these. I'm going to make you a deal. Office staff may kill me for this, but I'm going to make you a deal. If you will, let's get us a sign-up list on the transaction counter that was there that you registered on coming in the door. If you'll give us an email address, we will compile all this. Notice that we will compile all this into a document, and we will email you copies of everything everybody has written, and you can read them at your leisure. Is that a deal? I do think they need to be preserved, and we will do that at that time. So give us an email address on the way out, and we will send that to you.